She said smaller belly. I'm betting you I'm pregnant.
The surprise ending of Barbara Finch. Barbara was famous for her scream. Her scream hadn't aged well.
Oh, heck yeah, I can whack shit.
Oh dear!
Yeah, kill him.
He wasn't moving. All they ever found of her ear.
Mole man.
I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. After the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. And then one day, everything just stopped on my face.
What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Zerpy, Lurpy, Furpy, Chirpy, Burpy, and then Derpy and Derpy Jr.
I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
I fucking knew it. Gosh darn youngins these days gotta learn how to shoot a gun. Really? She's up there fucking crying and you're taking a picture?
Try not to think about
Dad!
Fucking deserved.
Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
Splash.
I'm sure he's happy.
Yeah, down. Heck yeah, we drown.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart.
Heck yeah, I got a kite. I missed.
I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, "We don't need a stepmom," were the words that I remember.
Husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
I hit the people with the kite. Not really. They don't react. Hello. Strange totem pole?
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined
No.
and as a sign held up his middle finger.
Yeah, fuck you. I can't actually do a middle finger with this, so settle for this. I'm specifically programmed not to middle finger people, apparently.
The wind picked up and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent.
Heck yeah, storm.
The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made.
Bonk. Oh, murder the tent.
The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder."
There we go. Heck yeah.
I wish that I could truly say
Oh,
I
it's
thought
like a
about you on that day.
jellyfish.
Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam.
Oh,
But I
angry
didn't.
jellyfish.
Until we found you.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
My climb? No. Yes.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get.
Yep, just rock climbing while pregnant. Dawn and Sanya.
She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
One's kind of cute. Okay. You have more to say about this?
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
Okay.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English.
So are we
Lewis was
half...
born a year later.
Are we half Indian then? Sanjays are there? Oh.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back
That's nice.
and to see kids in the house again.
There's Milton, and there's Lewis. Lewis had his very organized.
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
Oh, it's so pretty. I love the fairy light. And there's the old house.
And for a while, things were good. Almost normal.
We have the classroom in our house. I guess homeschooling be a thing, but weird.
But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Oh, this is so cool. It's like an observatory. I said it last time, but I'll say it again. I want to live here. It's such a cool place.
After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Ah, here we go. Door. Ooh, an airship. A model city? This one? So is he just like designing his own city or something? That's the same picture.
I think Edie was happy to finally have another painter in the family.
Ooh, lizard. Okay, can I fly? Milton. Magic paintbrush.
Milton Finch in
Oh, is it a
The
flip
Magic
book?
Paintbrush.
Okay. Flip. Oh, that's why he drew all the door downstairs.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Oh. I mean, it seems like we got some drawing skills, so there's that. Maybe we'd have got along.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever
Back out
Milton
we
had
go.
found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out. Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just
What's
spent
about-
more and more time in his room.
This
Until
is
Mom
definitely
got him a
about-
job at the cannery.
Can I climb? Yes. Oh, I was supposed to climb to get in because the door's sealed. Can I sit? I cannot sit. They built part of the house out of a boat. Oh. I see a hookah.
Lewis's room smelled very very familiar.
San
That part of him
Juanel.
lived on.
Psychedelics. Legalized marijuana. Yep, he was a stoner. Lewis Finch.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to
Yeah, I can grab them. How do I?
wander.
Oh. Oh no.
I asked him to describe it.
I have to control two things at once.
He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats
Oh. I like bats.
and toads.
I like toads as well. Is that
And
a
things
dragon?
that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more.
Dark Souls.
I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery,
Just don't cut
I
your
spoke
hand
with his
off.
boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee.
That's capitalism
Methodical,
for you.
tireless, focused,
Completely phased out of reality.
like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first.
I hear a dog.
He told me he'd made a
Pet
new
the
friend.
doggo. Hello. I want to pet the doggo, but I don't know how. Okay, well.
On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia.
That's not a very creative
He
name.
built the city up slowly, brick by brick.
Hello, drum person.
Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play.
Oh, hell yeah, we jamming.
He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination.
All life is but a set of pictures
So
in the
he
brain.
could do whatever he
Which
wished.
switch, there is no difference between those born of inward dreaming and of outward realities.
He held an election for mayor,
No cause to value one above the other.
and he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville,
You're not very good at naming things though, my dude.
St. Louis.
Oh my god. A little more creativity.
He started drifting
maybe.
away from
you
our
can build
reality.
a whole world in your head, but not a good name.
Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home
That's
from
the
the
worst
plant.
one. Minneapolis.
Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept
Oh, you
sailing
don't
on.
exist. I'm just in my fantasy world. Give me my ship back. Go away, Mom.
In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a
Yeah, sure, we'll be gay. Beautiful prince.
beautiful prince.
Make the gay choice. Hell yeah.
The prince was on his own quest for
I like the serpents, though. I mean, rainbows would be extra gay then.
sinister serpents. He followed the sound of his
Electric sitar. Hell yeah.
electric sitar. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon.
I'm still manually doing the fish, by the way.
Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination.
Oh, lots of fish at once.
But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king.
A god king. God King Lewis. All hail.
For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
Man, this really do just be the silver key. Well, that's my locker.
He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
You're not even getting the fish, you're just moving your hands, silly.
I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him. His prince waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do.
Oh, my beautiful prince. Oh, that's a guillotine. Well, off with his head.
Bend down his head. And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Went to go live in his fantasy world forever. Can't say I really blame him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him. On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed.
Look at these missing posters. Yeah, they're from Milton. We saw them in the
But I
pond.
understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
Is this my mom's room then? 90th. It's old.
What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner.
Herb.
But it had to end.
There's
one way or
glowy stars. And fairy
another. All
lights.
that's left now was to tell you about that last night.
I love it. The weird little people from the dream. Wow. So this was my room? I'm Edith, so this is my quill.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in
One
the
glass of
hallway.
wine won't do too much.
Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The adults have to argue now. Well, at least Grandma's honest.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
I've been wearing the armor for like years now. I like armors.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best
That's not
if Edith
fair.
and
It's
I
not
leave
because of her
tonight.
stories.
We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
That's not very nice. She wants to live here.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out.
We're the moon goddess. We control
was
the
the
tides.
first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life.
How is it still flashing
But
after
I never
years
thought I'd go
abandoned?
back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Also, Edie survived for like 90 years, so she can't be that cursed.
I got turned around. For a while, I wandered.
I mean, I'm still
I
just going the
started
direction of
seeing
the house.
things.
And I'm guessing it twisted and turned it.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them.
Yeah, I think it's the latter.
Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
Reading?
It's mine.
It's a
Edith.
library.
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go. I kicked and
Mom,
screamed,
you're a
but
fucking idiot.
Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great Grandma Edie again.
Hi, Grandma.
The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot.
Oh, hell yes, I can.
We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly.
Oh.
She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone.
Bye, Mom.
The last Finch left alive.
I don't know, Grandma might still be just like vibing somewhere. Said she was
Until I
gone.
found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is.
Oh no. I'm in a vagina.
This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories
die in
myself.
childbirth? I feel like we are.
But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
look different. Like the same, but not exactly the same. That baby gonna drown. I don't know what this game is like. Honestly, this game is so pretty. Just everything. The attention to detail, the care, the environments, the graphics, the music, the storytelling, just everything in this game is so pretty. And it's such like a unique and creative game. There really aren't any other games like this one. There's some that it reminds me of, but not the same. They really found a way to make something unique with this game. Oh, I don't know. All the child and baby pictures of the crew. This makes me think, like, what would I put if I'd worked on this? I didn't have a childhood. I didn't get this. That baby's seen some shit over there. This is us. I'm a permanent interactive. Weird name. That's a shotgun. Why does the child have a shotgun? You know the channel. Do you know this cool name? Shadcox. Okay, dude. Edith Finch. Yeah. But that was... I don't even know the words. I love this game. It's really just something else. I'm trying to think what to say, but I don't know any way of putting into words other than just how unique and beautiful this game is. How everything from like the gameplay to the storytelling to the environment is all just unique. And it has such a theme of like nostalgia for things that never were, things you didn't experience. All these things where I'm like, it feels like home, even though it wasn't my home, it was Edith's, the character's. All these moments where I'm like, just, it would be nice if life was like that. Minus the whole curse and everyone dying or disappearing. It's nice. Living out in the woods in this funky ramshackle house, cluttered with just the lives of everyone who's ever lived in it. Seems nice. And there's so much personality to each and every member of the family. It's like every single one had something completely different to say and a completely different story. Some of them had similarities, like Molly and Lewis both living in their own sort of fantasy worlds. But they were executed in such different ways. I think Lewis is the one I remember the most. Just in general, just because they really have you like feel the monotony of going like this over and over as you like manually move your mouse while your eyes are focusing at the other screen and you're moving your character around in this other world. You just stop caring about the fish and just start like automating it, not even thinking. Like he does in the story. Now it really reminds me of the Silver Key. If you haven't read it or whatever, there's some... Paul Shapiro has like a musical version of it that I definitely recommend. But there's a lot of that in Lewis's story. And I think Gregory's I'll remember a lot, just because in the editing, you'll see this in the video whenever it goes up. I had to re-record the entire audio for Gregory's part, so I had to just do it myself. So that's gonna be fun when the video goes up. You'll see what I mean. Or I suppose if this is in the video, if I put me talking in the video, then you'll have already seen it. In which case, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But honestly, this game's just beautiful.